and Rachel is one of our admin leaders. You've been with Young Adult BSF since 2020. Yeah, you came in when we were doing... we were split. That was awful. We apologize to anyone who was here, including Rachel.
Navigating Zoom and hybrid and looking to come to community and the Word and study when we can.
Yeah. And so this year you stepped onto admin and you are just a light and helping me and doing our social media. And so one thing that we were doing on social media is we're highlighting leaders. And so we thought it'd be an awesome idea so that you all could get to know Rachel better, but you could also hear someone else's testimony. I just think there is such a goodness in knowing people's stories. And so Rachel is here and she's going to tell us her testimony, and I'm going to kind of guide her through questions. And so why don't you give us some background about you, like where are you from, what does your family look like, how did you grow up, and then talk about the first time that you your first impressions of God.
So where I'm from, I grew up in Los Angeles County, California. I've lived in Louisiana, Virginia, and now I've been in Kansas City for over 3 years. So my family life is very close. I miss and love my mom a lot, and we stay in touch long distance through technology. So I'm grateful where the Lord has led me to be here. I've moved a lot for a job, and now I'm in a more permanent job here. As where I saw God, first impression, I was really sick at 5 years old and in and out of the hospital, and asked my mom, people at our church are praying for me. Can we also praying for me to get better? Can we also pray that I stop going back to the hospital? So as a already nitpicky thinking person, I came to know God as someone I could talk to and bring requests to. And after that was going the third time, I didn't have to go back to the hospital for major surgery since then. So the Lord just made himself known that way. I came to know this God who talked about Jesus, and I didn't come to know Jesus as Lord until later in life, but he took a hold of my heart through that trial still.
So that's you're pretty young. That's really cool. That's what I think about my kids. I'm that's what I would want them to know, God, that he could do these mighty things. When did Jesus became king of your life? When did that happen? Was that it was obviously later on, you're a little bit more mature, where did that lead you?
I like to say a common phrase is the Lord built up head knowledge for me, and going to Sunday school, coming to learn the stories, and I learned of the sacrifices that sin had a cost. And there was a moment of time of I was worried of did I confess my sins all today? To that wasn't going to a certain denomination that preached that, but that's the things I had learned. And the Lord opened up my heart and mind when I knew of this Jesus who died for everyone's sin, but I thought, okay, it was only in that time and space that he died. So is there another sacrifice coming? And then understanding his resurrection and him being Lord, and that he's my Lord. That's where I just came to this is real. This is worth it. Let's go get to know him more.
Were you in high school? Were you in college? Was it earlier?
12 years old.
Middle school stuff? Okay.
Ended up late elementary or so.
Okay.
The Sunday school moved from typical watching from a felt board to then 5th grade. We're sitting in a circle and discussing the text.
Okay.
And I was already kind of ahead on reading, and I read the Sermon on the Mount.
Yeah.
At a younger age and going, this stuff is hard to do. How can I try and do that? So I was legalistically looking at this is what Jesus calls us to do. I just want to do that stuff. But then looking to it as a response of who Jesus is as Lord.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so you started off, your faith was, built really strong, a really strong foundation, right? And, you grew up in the church, you have all that, head knowledge. What happened after that? What's your, I feel Connor's, when he shared his story, has really, a real high, and then it was, really low valley times away from the Lord. Did you experience those? Were you always connected? What does that look like?
So some of the highs was I, pursued and asked. My mom was a good resource to me, asking questions, keeping her captive in car rides of, who's God again? What is this love? Or what does it say here? I'm always talking, always thinking, and to find someone who's willing to answer or bring those answers, the Lord was gracious and brought other people to. A campus supervisor, he can't preach on campus in a public school, but he had an off-site every other Monday night, we're gathering around the Word. I just dove into doing all the things with a high school small group. One of the low points was the Lord took away like a youth pastor through church politics and other things. And I was excited to be under his teaching. When I was coming to high school, my brothers had him. And when he got to preach before he left, he preached on Romans 12 saying just like, this is the Christian living, go run this race. Do not look to me. Do not look to man. So the Lord took that crutch of me looking to the people he's put in my life as that the Lord is sufficient enough to.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. And that like, it's like so hard when those people that are like pillars walk away and like you don't have any control, and especially like as a young adult, like that's like super duper hard.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's high school. When you went to college, which I feel like you went in Virginia. No, you were in California still?
I left.
Oh, yes, you went to
UCLA.
UCLA.
I was in the smog place.
Yes, thank you. I was like, yes, I know, I do know this. I'm like, oh, Marissa. When you went to UCLA, like, what did that look like as that transition? Like, you're out of your parents' house. Like, not that you and your mom aren't as close, and like, I know you're really like, you communicate with her a lot, like, as an adult.
Already.
But like, you know, like, you're not around as much. Like, what does that look like for you with your faith?
So pre-UCLA, I was applying and I said I didn't want to go there because my brother went and he didn't go to a church. He was involved in a campus ministry and like had just enough Bible study. So I was just like, it sounds like there's no church or people there to run the race with.
Yeah.
And Mom was like, no, your brother just didn't go. Like, he didn't look for it. So the Lord graciously like made UCLA the option. And so I was driven and went to Crew, did this outreach day during the orientation week. Like, would you like a free bouncy ball for a survey? I already knew this was going to happen for my brother. Yeah. So I pestered almost every Crew leadership person, like student leader, who's out there trying to get to evangelize, get info, right? Gets people who are spiritually curious. I'm just like, who are you? What's going on? I was very diligent and driven to do that. Yeah. And then I was looking for a local church. A lot of friends would go out to Hollywood and it would be like a 40 minute drive. You'd have to find someone to get a car. By my second term, I found a local church that was walking distance, like 30 minutes or so. So if their car shuttle didn't work, I could get there. Yeah. And the hilarious thing was, me and someone were trying to go there. There wasn't a point of contact email. Just wait at this location. They didn't send the card because the college student they knew who was coming couldn't make it. Okay. So we're there like watching all these other people get picked up in these shuttles for this church and that church, and we're like just trying to go to the church. So cool. So I'm holding my Bible out going, okay, who else is there? And we both see each other and clock each other like, are you going to University Bible Church? I was like, yeah. I was like, okay, well the service starts in 10 minutes. I don't think anyone's coming to get us. You want to start walking? So we got to get to know each other and walk in during worship together. So then we made our presence known, and they're like, oh, there's more college students we need to shuttle over here.
Oh, that's so sweet. Like what the Lord like works in like those like little ways. Did you find in that time, did you have any like difficulty finding faith, or was it more like difficulty finding like your place in the faith like life?
I think one of my difficulties was pre-college. Was finding my faith and trusting like my aunt, who was a believer, going through alcoholism issues, and my parents being divided between my dad supporting his brother and my mom supporting her sister-in-law in those times. So those were some of my struggles of the faith of like, Lord, why do these hard things happen? But in college, I was more of just like, Lord, what is all this darkness that is in the college world that captivates everyone? So me, it was more just finding a faith to be a light in that and running the race. Okay. And you felt like the like firm foundation and everything going on, that like the Lord just like captivated your heart, that he just like kept on like pulling and tugging you back. Yeah. Wow, that's like really cool. And like to see like that goodness in there, that there's so many other things going on, but he is still calling you. And not that it's perfect, and not that it doesn't always like struggle. So does that like college life, like is there any additional stuff with that? I had a hard roommate. I lived with in my apartment for 2 years. She said she came to faith over the summer, and then when after we re-signed the lease later, she said her close college friend, she said, I'm not friends with you anymore. I'm still living with you. I also don't need this Jesus anymore. So I had to spend another year and a half going through my senior engineering classes, learning to just try and love a hard to love roommate who said, before she said, I don't love this Jesus anymore, I invited her to my church. She was doing some blog writing to help with her trying to pursue either writing or lawyer schools. And I found her article later. I had to not follow her for a while on Facebook, but I found it after I graduated, and she derided my church, called it like hateful, bigoted, and other things. And I was like, oh goodness.
No, just so hard. Like those, like how it gets taken out of context. Yeah, that's really hard. Okay, so like you're walking, you go to Virginia, or you go to Louisiana.
I get a job with Honeywell that says we'll send you on an internship to Spokane, Washington for the summer.
Okay.
And then I finished it, and they said you have 2 weeks to decide for this 3-year rotation program.
Okay.
And I said yes because it was a bonus, a good deal, and a guaranteed job.
Yeah.
And I didn't know which location I was going to.
Yeah.
I found that out. I signed in September. I found out in March.
Whew.
I didn't know who my manager was until April, May, because HR messed up and gave me the wrong manager. And I was like finding an apartment 6 weeks before my start date.
Wow.
And getting things moved out and all these coordinated. So
just
trusting the Lord in that. Before that, I had no internships prior, and my dad had just like good, helpful pressures of like, you're doing school, let's invest in that somehow. And I was feeling sorrowful of like, Lord, you haven't provided these good things yet. But I had a pit of despair of just what both my grandmothers had passed in the year I had my first internship. And he just gave us sweet gifts of, let's send you away and use your engineering and show you manufacturing is where an extroverted engineer can work.
Yes. Yeah. That's so sweet. And then like the blessings of that, of like, even like it is like really, really hard to like find your place, but like, So no, go ahead.
I could add like details of Louisiana. Like I was told I was going to Louisiana, and then I knew I was only there for 18 months. So I had time to put very little roots down.
Okay.
And then be told, negotiate where can I go next.
Okay.
And I thankfully got Virginia in 2020.
Okay.
So that's the gist of the detailed background there.
Yeah. Okay. In those times, like you talk about like a pit of despair and like just like feeling like not finding your place, like you like have worked diligently to find your place within the big C church, right? Like you have worked, you have found your place of leader, whether it be on campus ministry, it's been within a church community, it's been with other fellow believers. Like what did that look like with like in the workplace? I feel like that transition is like it sounds like it was maybe pretty difficult.
Yeah. Being a girl engineer, I was the 3rd girl engineer they've had in that department.
Wow.
And the only one during that time. The first gal, there's a diamond sign that said men working, and she was very like more abrasive and put WO across it, W women working, like fighting the system. And I was just like, okay, I have brothers, I've had many uncles. I get to work with this gentleman who's 60 years old, and I was very blessed being in the South. Like there are more people who profess their faith. Some it's more some is more cultural, but I had some good believing engineering coworkers there, so that was a help.
Yeah, that's like so sweet that like there is like that, like your story is so clear of like the Lord is just like puts you with people, whether it be like a couple or some that pulls you. Yeah. Okay, so you're here now. You've been here for 3 years, which that's crazy to think that you've been here for 3 years. Yeah. We've known each other for 3 years. That's kind of fun. I feel like I've known you way longer than that, if I'm really honest. I feel like you've been... Sometimes I say things and I'm like, no, Rachel's been here for forever. No, you've only been here for 3 years.
I'm a fierce and fast friend.
There you go. So what does your faith look like now? Like, you, I know you have a church community here. I know you're, like, always continuing to work and, like, see what that looks like. I know like being in the workplace and like sharing your faith is really important. You're doing you've been with BSF for 3 years. That's like obviously that like you're like very intentional about grounding yourself in the word. Like what does that look like for you?
Well, currently I think I'm overloaded sometimes currently.
Yes, we talked about this.
I knew that stepping up into leadership, it would be overloaded, and I am just trusting God for like the cold cups of water he gives me, whether it's me cramming my BSF in 2 nights or knowing, okay, I've been sustaining myself on worship music, and you went through a punk rock music stage recently. That's not as helpful. that is helpful to your like inner teenage soul.
Yes.
But does not help you.
Find Jesus in the punk rock.
You can. But when it's just numbing music just to get me through the motions of I go to work, I'm doing class, I'm doing homework. Yeah. I'm acting as if I'm just a machine.
Yeah.
Instead of that. So I've been looking to the Lord to create better rhythms, because you've heard my testimony of I was really grounded and disciplined, and I feel I've seen that erosion happen, and I've used other things as anchors. Okay. So the Lord's been pruning my heart on things of bitterness, putting expectations on believers and learning how to better partner and disciple others as well.
Yeah. Isn't that just like the journey of it though, of faith, of like that you get to a point where you're like, okay, well, my church community is here, so they're gonna take care, like it's here. But like truly, like it is like if you are not good with the Lord and you are not like fully relying on him, then like it does drop, and like that's so hard. And like you've been here for 3 years, I bet there's a level of like you're comfortable. And it seems like the Lord has not kept you comfortable for very long. You know what I mean? Like like you're not that much into the workplace, but you're enough in that like,
Well, when I was finishing Louisiana, I was like, Lord, this is not sustainable. Like the 3 years in 2 different locations.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord, this sucks. I have to trust you so much in it.
Yeah.
And he was like very faithful and gave a sweet gift of an unfortunate headcount reduction with COVID economy. I was at a site that I probably would have worked 50 or 60 hours a week and not have a life outside of work.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, Lord, if you want me here, then I'm going to try and stay after the rotation.
Yeah.
And just try and make it better so it's more healthy. Because I wanted to see the goodness of manufacturing there. I wanted to build better in there, build a better place and help create a better work environment for not just my engineers, but also the operators that I worked with. Yeah. And he said, yes, I put that on your heart, but I'm going to take it from your heart and put you in a different, have you trust me to provide you a job elsewhere when I say this job is not for you.
Oh, so hard.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like you talk like very open, like, when I talk about my communication of God, I feel like it feels different somewhat than yours. Like you, like when you like have quiet time with God, like, are you like, you're an extrovert, you're a talker, I'm a talker, like we sit here for hours and talk, but like, do you communicate? Like, do you like verbally communicate with God? Are you like a journaler? Like, what's your, like, I know worship music is big for you too. You love to sing. Like, what does that look like?
Singing's a good thing. I've been convicted of that. I've not been journaling for this time in the workplace, and that dropped off, and that bit of communication.
So did that used to be something that was more consistent?
It was very consistent, because when I'm just in college or in school, that your quiet time isn't interrupted by getting to work at 7 a.m. and doing these other things. So I would journal, or I would write prayers after sermons in that sense. So I've been talking to him better through community, being vulnerable in prayer requests. Yeah. But the times of like worshiping, you might catch me in the car, I'll have my hands up and I'm just like, Lord, I'm just going to talk to you, like, and give this to you now. Yeah. I'll walk in and out of like church, and I don't know what my non-charismatic church thinks about me as I'm walking out. I'm just like gonna talk to God as I walk to my car now.
Yeah. Okay, I love that.
Another discipline that the Lord's reminded me is when I drove to youth group a lot, I would keep the car on, like I would keep music off on the drive home. Yes. So it would just be me and him. Yeah. Talking in that time.
Yeah. In those moments of like just like the quiet. Oh, cool. Thank you for sharing. The confidence that you talk with of God told me to do this. I think that is like what like I just like I not that I had different, like I feel like I've heard God's voice and I know, but it's like so fun to see, and maybe fun's not the right word, but it's like it brings me like encouragement and like so full of joy to like just see the Lord, like that being able to hear and know clearly. And I know that you didn't get it perfect every time, and I know that there were, you know, hard times and maybe you didn't feel like he was talking to you, but like just like being able to hear and know the Lord's voice, I think that's like so hard, especially people that are like young in their faith, like determining, even as someone who, for me, like and you too, like we've been Christians for a long time, like we've been walking with this relationship with God, but like sometimes it's hard to decipher, to know the Lord's voice. And like I know that you've struggled with that too, but like you seem very clear and like, okay, I know his voice. And I think it's totally okay that like you're like, hey, I mean, we talked about it today during discussion that like, like I'm like convicted of like, I gotta do some different things here. Like, I think that's totally, I love that. Thanks for being vulnerable. Cause like, that can be so hard. Yeah. Cause I want to be like, I got it all together, guys.
I am not a stained glass. I don't like, I can exude this confidence of God's love, but deep down, like I want to like people to see that like, it's a hard slog. It's a worthy walk. Yeah. Psalm 41-3. I waited patiently for the Lord. He heard in the pit of despair. He heard in the miry bog. He heard my cry. He turned his ear to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the miry bog and set my feet on a solid ground. He has put a new song in my mouth, a song to sing of praise to him, so that others may call on him. I messed it up, but that's
No,
just it.
no,
So
you're
he put that on my heart, like in 8th grade when I read that, and I was just like, that's very interesting. And then I memorized it, and he's just kept that as a tie and a pull. In the seasons of woe and seasons of the world. The Lord is our foundation, and the world is something that is not stable to trust on.
Yeah. When you have been in the miry bog, what keeps on pulling you back to Jesus? Like, why are you a Christian? Like, I listened to this podcast and they had people come on who had really rough 2020s, and they're like, why are you still a Christian after everything that's happened in your life? Like, you've had hard stuff. Your journey to know God was started with hard medical stuff, and he is sustained you, and you were so intelligent and have this amazing, you know what I mean? Every time I'm where did Rachel pull that from? I just don't even know. So what keeps you centered? Why God? Why are you in this relationship?
And I think, as you pointed out, he brought me through those hard times of just looking back at his faithfulness. He even in the hard times, just knowing that he is consistent, he has been faithful, and that consistency will look different from time to time. Whether it's in being moved away into a different state I've never been, and wrestling with loneliness and making that loneliness into lowness with the Lord. Yes. I had good connections with friends across the states as I traveled so much. A friend at church was like, you turn around and Rachel's on a plane somewhere. But those friends kept me grounded when I would cry out to them, and I would cry out to God as well. And that phrase, loneliness to loneness, a longtime single friend found the sermon series that sent my way. Yeah. And that resonated with me.
That's so sweet, Rachel. That's I was going to ask you, what would you say to people? I think that's what you would say to people. That's so sweet. Okay. I think I'm going to check our time. I want to make sure it hasn't stopped. No, we're still going. Okay, we're 21 minutes. We're good. What... Oh, I was supposed to have... what, okay, I think this is interesting, because I want you to, share, why you made this choice, but, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? What does that look like for you?
Yeah.
You're, your parents still live in California,
yeah.
You're here, what does that look like?
So I got to just ask the Lord, Lord, is there a family that will adopt me? And he was very gracious and gave me a family that adopted me already, even before I was praying that. The seasons can be hard, and even just being there for the day, it's great. And I'm grateful that there's people who noticed me and saw me. So there's a family with their oldest son's 2 years younger than me, and their youngest is 11. So they have 5 kids over a long span, and they are just I'm very known for hospitality in our church. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
So just trusting the Lord to let others use their gift and seek those who are an outcast or on the outskirts.
Yeah. It's such a blessing. I'm so glad that you get to have that. That just warms my heart so much. I hope that that'd be stuff that I would hope that as Connor and I get more established, that we were able to love on people that don't have their family nearby. Because Connor and I's whole family is here, so we are just very spoiled in a way that it just is different.
And it doesn't have to be everyone that does that too.
Yeah.
The Lord prepares different people who can meet people where they're at in that time.
And and these couple have. That's so sweet. I love that. Yeah. Connor and I get to go and be with our family, with Connor's family. They all go to Colorado Springs. There's only 2 people that live there, but we all go and see them, and there's 15 of us. So it's gonna be crazy. But it's it is that they're not my family. They are my family now through marriage, but the first time that I went, it was so hard to be away, but what the goodness their relationships bring, that I know that you find with those family too. So yeah. Rachel, will you pray for us?
Yes.
I feel like we did.
Yeah,
we did good. Okay, will you pray for us?
Heavenly Father, I thank you for your witness through your son Jesus. Lord, may you continue your witness through other people's stories in this time. I pray for those in our BSF group, that you would help them to run after and seek you and know that your son Jesus is King. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Well, thank you. I'm so glad that you're here. We're gonna try to do this with all our other leaders if they let us. But I hope that you all have a good week, and we will see you later. And that Connor would say that you go out and make Jesus known. Have a good night.